Good evening and welcome to our night prayer with the people of the parish of Henderson, St Michael's and St Mark's in West Auckland. Great to have you with us. My name's Andy and I'm part of the team here at St Michael's and St Mark's and part of the ministry team. And over the last 4.5 weeks, we've been bringing you night prayer. An opportunity for us as a church family and for anybody else who would like to join us to come together at the end of the day and to have night prayer from the prayer book together and have an opportunity to reflect and to pray and to share. And it's been a great opportunity to be part of the people who've been bringing our night prayers to you each day, and a big thank you again will go out no doubt to all those who've been helping out with helping us draw our day to a close each weeknight as part of our lockdown time across New Zealand over the last 4.5 weeks. We're going into what we're hoping will be the last weekend of level 4 before hopefully on Monday dropping down to level 3. Not a lot will change in our family. I'll still be looking at the same view. I'm not really able to get out and do a lot of the stuff wanting to do, but it's been a very much a new way of working and getting used to, and lots of recording and lots of writing and lots of looking at computer screens day in and day out. But we hope that these night prayers have been an opportunity, whatever our days have included, to come together before our God of love and our God of hope and focus our eyes before we rest each night. So let's do that now. We'll be following the night prayer from the prayer book, copies of which have been emailed out earlier in the month to all of you. If you're still not got that and you'd like to follow along with some of the liturgy that we do as part of our night prayer, then please contact the office at stmichaels.net.nz, or message our Facebook page, or even connect into our website, and I'm sure people will be able to get the liturgy and the service outline to you. So right now, let's gather our thoughts together. I'll be focusing a little bit on Hebrews 12, the first few verses of Hebrews 12 in a few minutes. But as we focus our minds at the end of this Friday, the end of this week, let's begin with some words from night prayer. Eternal Spirit, flow through our being and open our lips, that our mouths may proclaim your praise. Let us worship the God of love. Hallelujah, hallelujah. And our sentence for today, Friday, is some great words from 2 Corinthians 4, 6-10. And it says this: "It is the God who said, 'Let light shine out of darkness,' who has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. But we have this treasure in earthen vessels to show that the transcendent power belongs to God and not to us. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed, always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be manifested in our body." Great words. And our reading, as I mentioned, is from Hebrews 12, and it says this: "Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses, let us throw off all that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us, fixing our eyes on Jesus, the pioneer and perfecter of faith. For the joy set before him, he endured the cross, scorning its shame, and sat down at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured such opposition from sinners, so that you will not grow weary and lose heart." Keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus. It's a classic reading, isn't it? It's well known. We've heard it many times before. But I wonder, are we fixed on Jesus right now? Or are our eyes fixed somewhere else? Maybe it's the circumstances around us. Maybe homeschooling's just that little bit too hard at the moment. Or maybe the kids or husband or wife or whoever else is in the house is driving us mental. Maybe it's the four walls that are driving us crazy. Then maybe that's where our eyes are focused. Maybe it's where I will pay the next bill, because maybe my job security isn't quite what it was, or even I'm down to 80%, or even lost my job altogether. Maybe, who knows what the future holds for many of us. Maybe it is that uncertainty that is holding our gaze at the moment, rather than keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus. It's important to keep your eye on the ball, isn't it? It's a phrase I use many times when I used to coach football with my kids, and used to always tell them to keep your eye on the ball, because if you didn't, the ball would smack you in the face because you weren't looking at it properly in order to direct it in the right direction. And I must admit, when I used to play football, I didn't like the pain of the ball hitting my face, so keeping my eyes open in order to head it in the right direction was always a very good idea. But more often than not, I would keep my eyes off the ball, because more often than not I'd be waiting for the ball to hit. But when I did, usually I came off a lot worse. Keeping our eyes on the ball is important, isn't it? Keeping our eyes on Jesus is even more important, and not our circumstances around us. I'm sure many of you, when you've headed down to Tauranga or that kind of direction, have stopped maybe in the gorge on the way down, and maybe had a picnic, and maybe even gone into the rail tunnels, as I did with my kids many years ago. And being in those rail tunnels is quite interesting, isn't it? Because you go in and it's all very exciting, and after a very short amount of time it gets cold and it gets darker and darker, and all you can really hear is the voices, which at one time were all chattery and happy and are now going a little bit more silent. And all of a sudden the light behind you that you came in on is probably just as small as the light ahead of you, and it becomes a really unnerving place to be, doesn't it? And that's a little bit like our lives maybe right now. But I wonder, as we start to think about that, are our eyes fixed on that light ahead, keeping moving? Or are our eyes fixed on the tunnel around us, and the darkness and the coldness and the uncertainty that is surrounding us? One of my favourite songs over the last little while is the song Fight My Battles, taken from Isaiah 61, which talks a little bit about putting on that garment of praise and taking off that spirit of despair, fighting our battles with praise, focusing on Jesus, focusing on God rather than our circumstances and our situation, our eyes fixed in the right place and our lives focused in the right place. And there's a great line in that particular song that says, "It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you." It may look like I'm surrounded, but I'm surrounded by you. And maybe we are surrounded by a lot of rough stuff, a lot of life that looks pretty grim at the moment. But I wonder, as we reflect on that, as we think a little bit about that for our own lives at the moment, are we looking around us and thinking, it may look like I'm surrounded by all this stuff that I'm getting a bit freaked out about? Or are we actually being reminded that actually in all of that we are surrounded by Christ? We are surrounded by the love of God. And as we keep our eyes fixed on him, it's a little bit like what happens in those rail tunnels. The more you move into that darkness, the more you move forward and keep going, what happens to the light that you're heading for? That light gets bigger, and that light gets bigger, and it gets brighter, and then eventually we come out into the daylight again. And we keep our eyes fixed on that light in that tunnel, the light gets brighter. When we fix our eyes on Christ in our lives and the light of Christ in our lives, his light and his love gets brighter and brighter, and eventually the darkness that surrounds us is actually removed by the light that is Christ. Are we fixed in the right place? Are our lives and our minds fixed in the right place today? There's a great quote from Corrie ten Boom which says, "When a train goes through a tunnel and it gets dark, you don't throw away the ticket and jump off. You sit still and you trust the engineer." Are we trusting God for whatever circumstances we're surrounded by today? It may look like we're surrounded, but let's continue to trust the engineer, and let's continue to aim towards that light fixed on Jesus. I want us to be reminded as well of our sentence for today, because I thought that was a really good reminder of us that actually we are pretty broken as people, as earthen vessels, aren't we? We're kind of a bit of a mess as human beings, and that's maybe one of the reasons why we don't always keep our eyes focused well. But as we reflect for a moment and pause, I want to say a few of those words again from our sentence. So let's pause for a moment. We are afflicted in every way, but not crushed, perplexed, but not driven to despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed, always carrying in the body the death of Jesus, so that the life of Jesus may also be manifested in our body. We have an incredible love that empowers, an incredible love that we can focus on, an incredible love that surrounds us. Be reminded of that as we end another week and another evening together in night prayer. We're going to finish now with our last few sentences of our night prayer liturgy. So join with me as we say the following. Lord, it is night. The night is for stillness. Let us be still in the presence of God. It is night after a long day. What has been done has been done. What has not been done has not been done. Let it be. The night is dark. Let our fears of the darkness of the world and our lives rest in you. The night is quiet. Let the quietness of your peace enfold us, all dear to us and all who have no peace. The night heralds the dawn. Let us look expectantly to a new day, new joys, new possibilities. In your name we pray. Amen. As we conclude tonight, there's a fantastic additional quote I want to throw at you from Corrie ten Boom, and it says this: if you look at the world, you'll be distressed. If you look within, you'll be depressed. But if you look at God, you'll be at rest. I pray that that is exactly how I leave you tonight, and how we leave each other as we part for another week, that we are able to keep our eyes fixed on that God of love. And in God, we take our rest. Kia ko te rangi Mārie. Peace be with you. Amen.